Good, bad, and everything in between, the food we eat changes our lives and the land around us. Learn and be inspired by stories of food, people, and the land we all share as we explore how food transforms. This is Alex McKiernan coming to you from the Bob Hines studio at Robinette Farms, and I am joined by my esteemed colleague, Miss Chloe Deagle. How are you, my dear?
Wonderful. How are you?
I'm good. We are back from vacation. Took a family vacation, and we're very excited to be back to work, aren't we?
Yes.
Yes.
Very excited.
Very.
No, we are.
Are we? I don't know. I'm not very excited.
Vacation's always hard to come back from.
It's hard to come back from. It's like you bust it to get ready to go, and then you get back and you're like, that was over quick.
Well, and you get back and you're already overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And that's any small business, not just a farm. It's, if you're running your own business, there's a lot to do to prepare to leave and a lot to do when you get back.
Yeah. Although we have a wonderful staff across the board.
Yeah.
On this property, at the ranch, across the board. We have
super
amazing
lucky
employees that we can trust. It's really cool.
Yep.
Well, with all the cyclospora discussion in the news today, we heard about it when we were on vacation, and I'm like, should we send an email out about this? Should we do something? And you're like, we're on vacation. And I think that's probably the right call, but we wanted to talk about food safety and get into that. But before we do, I want to mention the death of our friend Bill Hines. That is the older brother of Bob Hines, whose name we put on our office, a.k.a. studio.
Yes.
And Bob and Bill are the brothers who sold us this land.
Mm-hmm.
And Bob died almost 2 years ago. Bill's wife, Sherry, died in May. And then Bill died on July 22nd while we were on vacation.
Yeah.
So I was curious what do you remember about Bill?
Oh, what I remember about Bill is that, he and Bob were opposites for sure.
Oh,
and personality-wise, so Bob was, talk, tell stories, cracking jokes, and Bill was the quiet one,
Yeah.
But, he was always so supportive of what we did in his own way and just super kind, generous, and, but he didn't want to have a long conversation. He just wanted to check in and say hi. And in his obituary, they had a photo of him in like a Hawaiian shirt with what kind of cap? It's like a driving cap.
Well, yeah, it's like the Irish cap.
Yeah.
Like a tweed.
Yeah.
I can't remember what those are called.
I can't remember either. It's kind of like a driving cap.
Sure.
Anyway.
That's what I wear when I drive.
Totally. And big sideburns.
Oh my God, I forgot about his sideburns. You're right.
His big sideburns.
Yeah.
And that is like exactly how I remember Bill.
Yeah.
And then for a long time, when we were at farmer's market and, for the first several years we had the farm, he would come to the market or come visit us at the farm, and he'd always have a little like terrier dog with him.
A little yippy dog.
Yeah, a little terrier dog with him. That wasn't yippy, but it was just so funny. It was his Hawaiian shirt, his tweed, and then his little tiny dog.
Yeah.
Sweet guy though.
Yeah, very sweet. And it, I had said earlier today, just the power of sort of legacy. We didn't grow up in agriculture, and most people that come from farming and ranching in their second, third, fourth, fifth generation, and they have this long history, this lineage of people who took care of that land, and now it's their responsibility, and how much pressure that can put on people. And we didn't have that. We had these two guys who sold us this land and cared very much about it and didn't want us to split it up, but just the fact that they cared and they trusted us and respected us and wanted us to succeed, like, they're gone now. But I feel like pressure's the wrong word, but I want to do the right thing. Like, I'm motivated to like take care of this land because of them, and just the power of that legacy and those relationships. And I'm a relationship guy, so that matters. But
you totally are. Yeah.
But it is, like, I'm motivated by that. I want to do the right thing by them,
Yep. No, I agree. And that's, we have the old original homesteaded farmhouse on the property, and it's not our stories. It's not our family, but it's still there, and we're always in this limbo of what do we do with this, but, and I always feel just like, we need to keep it,
Yeah, same.
Like, we got to keep it. It has to stand. And, we know a little bit of the story of the house, and, you know, from just having conversations with Bob, and, you know, I feel motivated to like preserve that piece of their family legacy that is kind of now de facto ours.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. Well, thank you, Bob and Bill.
Thank you, Bob and Bill.
We love you. So let's get into food safety concerns, which is a big deal right now. Certainly always salient when you're talking about fresh produce and other foods that you eat raw, but it's in the news. It's everywhere. It's a big deal. Cyclospora. This is a parasite that can cause cyclosporiasis in humans. We often hear about E. coli or Listeria or Campylobacter or norovirus, Salmonella. These are other foodborne illnesses. They can be on food. They can get you sick. And since we sell food,
Yep,
including lots of fresh produce and leafy greens, we're going to talk about food safety. Yay. So on the cyclospora deal, since May 1st of this year, that's about 3 months ago, the CDC has confirmed something like 6,700 to 7,000 cases of cyclosporiasis, which gives folks serious digestive, distress, can put you in the hospital, and another 12,000 roughly suspected cases of the illness. And this illness happens every year. It's something that is not new, and it peaks in summer. That parasite does better in warmer weather. But this summer is particularly bad, and this is more cases than maybe we've ever documented. I'm not sure, but it's certainly far above the average. So
yes.
Cyclosporiasis itself is not fatal, but it can put you in the hospital if you become severely dehydrated from diarrhea and whatnot. And that could lead to serious complications, but the parasite itself is not fatal. And this is the exciting part, everyone. Cyclospora bacteria is transmitted when human fecal material ends up on the food. This is disgusting. And it's not like livestock manure when we're talking about E. coli. That's usually related to livestock manure somehow. This is human waste contaminating produce. So I'm just wondering, Chloe, how did the human waste, I think we call it poop, how did that get into the food system, generally speaking?
Generally speaking, I'll say,
we don't know
I
exactly.
don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, and I will not say. Generally speaking, in the produce world, the ways that any kind of poop, whether it's human or animal, could possibly get on produce, a really common way is irrigation water. So, you can irrigate from a river, a pond, an irrigation ditch. You can irrigate from a well. Those are kind of the common ways to irrigate.
You can live somewhere where it rains.
You can live somewhere where it rains, and maybe you don't need to irrigate.
Not very common.
I wouldn't trust that anymore. So surface water irrigation comes from things like ponds that are open to the air, open to birds flying over them, open to frogs and whatever else might get into the water.
Livestock runoff.
Same with rivers or streams or creeks or irrigation canals, right? It's open to the elements. A well water would be closed to the elements, theoretically. You still have to test all this water. But that's a common source of any kind of, food safety outbreak, as often was the water contaminated that you were using to irrigate these crops.
Because often, especially with vegetables, oftentimes the irrigation is overhead. It's like sprinklers.
Yes, sprinklers.
So if the water's contaminated, you're spraying it all over the produce.
All over.
Yeah.
Yep, all over. So that's a common source. Also, worker hygiene are the people that are harvesting the produce and packing the produce, washing their hands. You could even go the next level are the people driving it in trucks, unpacking it at the grocery store and setting it out. Are they washing their hands? There's lots of steps along the way in our industrial food system for people to touch produce.
And then I feel like the last part of this that we've been hearing in the news a bit is like the traceability. And in this case, with the cyclospora, they haven't really been able to track it down exactly. We talk a little bit about just traceability in general. What does that mean, and how does it work in our massive system?
In our massive system, I mean, there are systems for traceability. Like that totally exists for any big producer that is, growing hundreds of acres of stuff. They have to have a system in place that, is like any other kind of inventory management system. You have, a lot number, a date number, and a way to track it. And if you're selling to a big company like Cisco or US Foods or something, you're going to have, a scannable label on there, and they're going to want to know, was it at the right temperature? Yada, yada, yada. Were you, upholding all these food safety requirements that are required to work with a big distributor like a Cisco or a US Foods? So traceability is all about, can you source from the grocery store or the place that you bought your product all the way back to the farm where it was grown?
Right.
So in an industrial system, it might be, your house, the grocery store, X number of distributors. It could be 2, 3, 4. It could have been in several different warehouses on the way. And then it could have been in another warehouse where it was packed versus where it was harvested.
Right.
So there's...
And these could be different companies all the way along the
line.
Could
be different companies all along the line that have to communicate some way, which there are systems for. Like that all exists. The food system wouldn't exist as it was if the technology didn't exist. But that just means there might be, 8, 10, 15 steps, or who knows.
Across multiple states and maybe countries.
Yes, countries. Yeah, there could be a shipping container involved. Likely there has been a shipping container involved. So, you're looking down a long road of different people and companies touching the food that ends up in your kitchen. Versus our farm, you get it in your kitchen and you can call us on the phone.
Right. Before we get back to talking about food safety at Robinette and how we manage it, I feel like I want to talk a little bit about risk. Mm-hmm. That I love outdoor adventure sports and activities, climbing, boating, whatever. I love to be out in the wilderness. And a very common question when someone looks at something like climbing or whitewater boating or whatever is it safe? Mm-hmm. Is that safe? Mm-hmm. Is this safe? Can I do this? Is this safe? Mm-hmm. And we're very careful about discussing that because when it comes down to it, nothing is safe.
Right.
Nothing is safe. There's a perceived risk and an absolute risk. So you look at someone rock climbing and you say, oh my God, they're going to die. And then you talk to them and you learn about the systems involved and you go, oh my God, it would be really hard for anything bad to happen to them.
Right. Right.
The risk has been managed.
Right.
And so there's a perceived risk that's really high. Mm-hmm. And then you manage those risks and it's not so bad. Mm-hmm. And, when we think about food safety, it's super important. And I don't want anyone to think that it's not. We don't want to get anyone sick.
No.
And we're very careful not to. And we're going to talk about the details of that here in a minute. But when it comes down to it, the risk is actually quite low compared to most other things we do in our daily life. So, sure. I went through and looked at some of these numbers, food safety wise, in our produce. And if you just look back at like USDA records and CDC records about how many people get sick and roughly how much is attributed to, say, fresh produce like vegetable row crops, leafy greens, tomatoes, melons, whatever. Mm-hmm. We know the numbers of reported illness, and we know roughly the number, the like pounds of food harvested over a certain period of time. Yes. And, I dug into those. And I came up with something like over a 15-year period, the results of illness were something like, a maximum of 0.000001. That's 6 zeros.
It's a lot of zeros.
6 zeros, 1, 0.0000001 reported diseases per pound of leafy greens. Mm-hmm. So it's a tiny, tiny amount. And we know how many pounds of leafy greens we grow here. Right. Like we track that very closely. Mm-hmm. And I calculated out that with that rate of illness, which is based on the entire industry, and we think we are way safer than the entire industry. Like we have controlled risks better, and we're going to get to that, than the entire industry. So this is like, even if we had the industry standard illness ratio, we would expect one reported disease every, what did I come up with? Every 1,666 years.
Right.
And that's just a reported illness. You know, if you talk about a hospitalization from something we're doing, well, now you're up to every 25,844 years.
25,000 years.
And one death from the amount of greens that we grow every 960,000 years.
Okay, I feel like we're doing okay.
We're doing, and so this is something I feel like is maybe part of the conversation. I'm not sure how to bring it in, but when you go drive, that's probably the most dangerous thing you do, and you do it every single day for most people.
Yeah.
You drive, and the rate of deaths from car crashes is like way higher than any foodborne illness.
Right.
Major diseases like heart disease and cancer, like they kill a lot of people, hundreds of thousands of people. Nowhere near a foodborne illness, even though most people eat every single day.
Yeah.
Slipping and falling and having some trauma hitting your head or whatever, way more dangerous than eating fresh produce. And that's not, again, it's not to minimize the importance and the real suffering that people have gone through with food illness. But the point is that the risk, I feel like we've kind of blown out of proportion in some.
Yeah. And some of that I totally agree. And some of it is just our media culture right now. We'll take something and elevate it and keep repeating it and keep repeating it. And not that this isn't something that, the farms need to be accountable for, and the grocery stores and the restaurants and the distributors, like all of what is happening needs to happen. But yeah, people maybe don't need to be as worried as the media makes them feel worried,
I certainly think that's the case.
Yeah.
Okay, so Chloe, we talked about foodborne illnesses. We talked a bit about perception of risk versus sort of absolute risk. Now let's talk about how we can safely feel good about eating fresh fruit and produce, fresh vegetables, and the risk of foodborne illness, how we manage it. Because there's a risk for everything we do. So how do we manage this risk that's in front of us? How does Robinette Farms keep our customers safe?
Yeah, at Robinette, we've had food safety on the forefront of our mind since we started our farm. Like the first class we attended about food safety was in 2011. We have had third-party certifications for food safety, and we've been, doing that for years and years and years. So it's really important to us because we do grow things that are maybe, in quotes, more risky than others, our leafy greens that we grow. But, we do things like we train our staff on proper hygiene. We test our irrigation water. We use irrigation water from a well.
A sealed well.
A sealed well, closed well.
Literally cannot be contaminated without like severe tampering.
Severe tampering,
You would have
to
break into it.
Or the groundwater itself is somehow contaminated.
Before it gets to our well.
Yeah,
which
exactly.
is why we have a sealed well and why every well is supposed to be sealed.
Right.
If you have an open well, you should be doing something to protect it.
Right. So we test our water every year to make sure that it's clean and safe for us to be using. It's also the same water that we use in our home, so we want to make sure that that is clean and safe for us. We have traceability standards. We get inspected. We don't use any raw manure on our farm, which is also part of our organic certification. It's just safer if we don't, so we don't apply any raw manure to our fields ever. Those are kind of the main things that we do. And then we keep records, we make sure that our coolers are the proper temperature, that the sanitizer we use in our water for washing our greens is at the appropriate level to...
And what do we use for that?
We use basically like a high strength peroxide. that's approved for organic certification.
So it's essentially hydrogen peroxide, which people will use sometimes for sanitizing.
Yep.
It's that we dilute in water and soak the produce in.
Yep. We'll wash and rinse things in there. But yeah, we test that to make sure that it's not too strong or too weak. You know, if it's too strong, it might damage greens. If it's too weak, it's not going to do its job.
Right.
We have fences set up so that our cattle can't get into our production areas, and we monitor that as well.
Right. And all of this is codified in a food safety plan, which you built, right?
Yes. Yep.
And that has all the protocols laid out that say, here's how we handle this risk. Here's how we handle this risk. You mentioned employee practices a little bit. And so we'll talk about those a little more. That's just keeping yourself clean, washing your hands.
Mostly. It's really not that complicated, right? It's like, if our employees have another job where they're working with animals, we want to make sure they change their clothes and change their shoes before they come work here. We want people to come in clean clothes. We want them to wash their hands before they enter our work area. Anytime, it's like the signs you see in every public restroom. Employees must wash hands before returning to work,
Right.
Right. So we retrain all of our staff on that. A lot of our staff has had food handler permit training in other jobs as well, because if you're in farming, you've likely also worked in restaurants in some capacity.
And that's probably, we don't really know how this current cyclospora issue came up.
Yes.
We don't know exactly what the cause was. But it seems like employee hygiene is likely a big part of that. Because either human waste got on this food because humans were living near an irrigation ditch and using it as a latrine, or workers in the field, wherever this was in who knows where, Mexico, California, wherever it's being harvested, didn't maybe have access to like clean conditions. This could be employees trucked in to a field, harvest this field and move on to the next if there aren't bathrooms.
If there aren't bathrooms, if there aren't adequate hand washing stations,
right?
All
people
of it.
Can't be clean.
People can't. If the farm or the employer is not providing the appropriate conditions for employees to use best practices,
right,
then they're not going to be able to use best practices. And people have to go to the bathroom. Like
that is a thing.
That's a reality.
That's the thing.
And another thing that we do is that's part of the food safety plan is like employees don't come to work if they've had any gastrointestinal issues at all.
Yeah.
Which is really important, and it's important to us. And so we will pay our incentivize people to stay home if they have something they think could be a food safety risk.
Right.
Because people need to make money, and we don't want people to come in when they're ill at risk of contaminating other people.
Yeah. So our employees, once they've been here for a little while, have paid time off that they can use if they're feeling ill. And if they've had any illness within 24 hours, they're told not to don't come to work.
Yeah.
Don't come to work. And that may be part of this system. We don't really know.
Yep.
And it's going to be pretty hard to ever trace that down.
Definitely.
One of the challenges with cyclospora in particular is I think illness doesn't even show up sometimes for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And it's like, who remembers what they ate 2 weeks ago?
Yep.
That's pretty hard to track.
Definitely.
And then the traceability, is something also that comes out of our organic certification. So talk a little bit about that and the uniqueness of what we do compared to a big grocery store where we went through, you talked about all those different partners.
Yeah.
Or even a farmer's market. Like we're kind of in a unique space that I think is even safer.
Yeah. Like you said, we have to go through, and when we were getting third party certified by the USDA for food safety, you had to go through a mock audit is basically what they called it. And that's what we do, a traceability audit, like a mock audit, every year for our organic certification. For the organic certification, they want to know, okay, where and when did you purchase the seed? How much was it? When did you plant it? When did you harvest that? When did it get packed? Who did it get delivered to? And the point of that is that if someone calls you, even if it is a grocery store that we sell like our microgreens to, and they say, someone said they got sick from your stuff, we can say, okay, what was the date on the package? And then we have records that we can trace it back, even all the way back to the seed if that was required.
Right. And that traceability is huge. I mean, that's the thing that's so challenging right now is we can't figure out where this is coming from. So I think that really heightens people's fears.
Yes.
And it tends to push that risk towards something that feels unmanageable.
Right.
There's no one's giving you any answers.
Yeah. And that's that's the benefit of, not only Robinette's products, but, our online farm store and our local food subscription. Every product that we sell is linked to that producer that we work with. And the producers that we work with, we have their food safety plans on file. And we want to know, we don't audit them. We aren't food safety inspectors, but we want our growers that we work with to have food safety plans so that we know that, they have this in mind and that's important to them. But anything that anyone buys from us, we can trace back to the farm that it was sourced from.
Well, I think that is where we're in this unique position. Obviously, we're a small enough scale and we can track from source to customer, like you're saying.
Yep.
That makes us totally different than the grocery store and these massive supply chains with all these people in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
But in some ways, we're actually even better traceability and perhaps safer than the farmer's market in some ways, because you go to the farmer's market and you shop from a bunch of different producers. Mm-hmm. You may not know, if you eat food from all that, like which one maybe made you ill if you got sick. And then that farmer who sold it to you, they don't have records of who they sold all these things to. And if we ever had a problem, like we can trace directly from source all the way through, since people order, to what box was delivered to them. So.
Right. And if we knew we had a problem, like we had a product we couldn't sell earlier this spring. It was a milk product, from our milk supplier. And they just said, hey, we can't deliver this week. We had an issue with our bottling.
Right.
We don't have any, they shut it down on their end because they recognized that there was a problem in their system. So, that's also something that we can do, is we can say, hey, if you purchase this product, throw it away.
Right.
We had something come up, throw it away.
Yeah. We can contact all those people.
We can contact all those people.
Which is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've talked through a bit of this. Hopefully people reach out if they have further questions. But I mean, the big thing I feel like, obviously as a business that sells fresh produce, we don't want to scare people away from eating fresh produce. But ultimately, I also feel like it's more risky to not eat fresh produce.
Absolutely.
Do the health benefits of fresh produce outweigh the risks?
I would say, yeah. I don't have numbers, but you said something like 0.000001.
There you go. Yeah.
Did I do all the?
I think you did 6 zeros.
Right around 6 zeros. Like that's a very, very, very small number. And I would think that the benefits of eating vegetables, even if you cook them ahead of time, if you're feeling worried, is going to outweigh that risk.
Right. Well, I mean, when you look at the reason you're told by doctors and everyone else to eat more fresh fruits and produce is to manage risks like diet-related diabetes and other chronic illness, cancer, heart disease. Fresh fruits and vegetables help with all of that. Mm-hmm. And those are far more dangerous to you than foodborne illness. Mm-hmm. And I mean, everybody knows if you eat our greens, you will drive more safely.
Totally.
Like this is documented, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you've heard that.
Sure. Yeah.
Like you have the microgreens and then you're like, I was in the zone. I drove so well.
You can see clearer.
I don't there's no way I could be in an accident after eating your produce.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Got it.
Yeah. Something like that. I did have a good point and now I forgot it because you went on the track.
Sorry. I thought of something that I thought was funny and then I ruined your thought.
No, it's all good.
I'm sorry. I do that all the time.
Yeah. I'm not quick enough.
Should we pause for a little while? You can think of your good point. No, I ruined it.
Well, we were talking about food as medicine.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And like the benefits of eating produce. And I think now I remember my point was, eating those healthy foods and having a healthy lifestyle, which will often include fresh fruits and vegetables and healthy meats, healthy dairy, all of that is also going to make you healthier and less susceptible to any kind of foodborne illness you might experience. You know,
Sure.
like the weaker your immune system is, the more inflamed you are, the other health risks, the other, you know, health issues you have going on are going to make that foodborne illness experience probably way worse.
Interesting.
And maybe way more dramatic or serious, because if you're already not healthy, then something like that hitting you is gonna hit harder.
Brilliant.
Eat more vegetables.
That was way better than my joke.
Yeah, dude. What?
You should have spoke up just
Driving?
louder. I thought it was funny. All right. Thank you for your time, Chloe. I enjoyed it.
Anytime.
Food transforms everything around us. If you like what you heard today, please subscribe, post glowing reviews, and tell your friends. Visit robinettefarms.com today for food and info. Join us next time, and remember, food is a gift. Enjoy it.